Hello and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. This Hangout on Air is live. We are live with this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. The sun is coming up. It's a clear sky. It's going to be about 74 or 75 degrees today. It's a little chilly right now. I have the window open. That's why I have this. It's about 55 degrees. Okay, here we go. It was 80 yesterday, 80 degrees on December 1st, Louisiana. So, Louisiana beer reviews, alcohol eggs, Beer Talk 2018, the Beer Coalition chat presents King, let me go backwards, JW Dance blended Scotch whiskey, JW blended Scotch whiskey, introduced, we don't know, the company was established in 1839, and they started selling a whole line of not just their own bourbon and their bonded bourbon, but just JW Dant, Scotch, gin, vodka, etc. And so they contracted with some distillery in Scotland to distill and blend their whiskey, send it to Kentucky where they bottled it. JW Dant has been bought out years ago. It is now owned by Heaven Hill. The Shapira family. But it is one of the old liquor brands. And I'm going to pour it and then tell you what we're going to go up against. Now, my friend David, with the big beard, I have a little beard. He has a big beard. Little, big. He bought the JW Dant Bonded, and he was just so excited about it. Oh, man, this is great. And he just went on and on. He really liked it. I liked it too, but he really liked it. Okay. King Robert II, or Robert, as they say in the Anglo world. King Robert II blended Scotch whiskey. Now, this one's bottled. It is big jug bottle, 1.75 liters. This was bottled in Scotland. It's not shipped over here and bottled in America like the Clan McGregor and so many other blended Scotch whiskeys, and Canadian whiskeys, I might add. Many blended Canadian whiskeys are bottled here in the USA like Canadian Club. That's a weird story because Canadian Club is distilled and blended and aged in Canada, then it's shipped to Plainfield, Illinois, where it's bottled, and then it's imported back to Canada. So they get to import their own export. Import their own export. Appearance. I think they're the same. Remember, this one might be a shade darker, however, and that is the King Robert. King Robert II. Now with the Clan McGregor and the Cuddy Sock, they're like that greenish gold. You know, some of those blended Scotch whiskeys or even single malt, I guess, I have that kind of weird greenish gold thing going on. And, you know, like I say with Budweiser, if you get a Budweiser lager beer and you pour it in a clear glass, sometimes it'll look almost green. And it even tastes strange. Budweiser has such a unique, yeast strain, which makes it taste, to me, odd, like there's something raw in it. I don't know how to explain it, but it gives other people a dirty hangover and a nasty, tremendously bad headache. I was talking to a guy one time, and he said, we were eating some pizza and stuff. He said, I love Budweiser, but it gives me a terrible headache. I said, you're not the first person that's ever told me that, and I think it's something to do with the yeast strain. But that's another story for another time. Well, I'll be able to tell these apart. They're very close, and who knows? Ian McCleod might do the contract distilling for JW Dant, meaning the Shapira family, meaning Heaven Hill. No? You know what I mean? No, I mean, Ian McCleod has a website. They talk about King Robert II. There's also a 12-year age King Robert II, which I bet is fabulous, but I've never seen it. JW Dant, all they do is list the bottle sizes on the product description area of their website. It's all text. There's no information about it. But they might, who knows? They might make it for them. Who knows who makes it? I don't know who makes it. You might know who makes it. We don't know who makes it. Okay. All right, calm down. Calm down. What's coming up after the Scotch series? Bourbon, or as they say in Wales, bourbon. Bourbon. I was listening to some of these Welsh beer reviewers say it tastes like it's got bourbon in it. I said, bourbon. I wanted to advise them. I wanted to say, you know, that word has an R in it. Bourbon. Would you say the Bourbon kings of France? It just seems a strange way to speak. But some people might criticize my exemplary accent. I don't know why or how they would. What would be the purpose of that? Okay. Let's get something straight. I'm going to review the Old Forester as a solo review. I was going to do it last night, but I said, I don't feel like it. I'm tired. And I brushed my teeth and I didn't do it. I was watching football and then I said, these games are going to all be blowouts tonight. I just know it. And then I was laying in bed. I said, I'm going to go to sleep early. And that way I can wake up at like 1:45 or something. Well, that didn't pan out. I did fall asleep early, but then I woke up like at 10:30 and I had this terrible dream about the devil, which went on, like seemed like the whole time I was sleeping. And I said, oh, a nightmare. I had a nightmare. It didn't make any sense. And then I was thinking about it and I couldn't get back to sleep. And I said, well, that's going to destroy my whole get up super early project. So I didn't get up till 2:53. It was like I was running for office, like for president. And the devil said, I'll make a deal with you and you can do all these things. And I don't know what the deal was. I don't remember the whole story. I don't know what happened. I said, well, okay. But, and then later I said, I'm going back home. I'm not giving him anything. He's going to try to kill me, you know. And he had like a suit on, you know, kind of like the Joker, all these television shows and some kind of like mustache and little goatee, kind of like what I'm wearing. And he, like black hair and all. So he's looking for me. And I was telling people he's looking for me. I got to get away. I mean, this is no joke. This is like a serious situation. And then there was all these various schemes I was coming up with to escape. But then it was all a dream. It was all lies. I made it all up. Michael Corleone did this. Michael Corleone said that. So I said, yeah, sure. All right. Wait a minute. And my father went up. I was in the olive oil business with his father. That was a long time ago. All right. Okay. This one smells, I don't think I'll be able to tell them apart. This one smells very standard. It's sweet. You say, what about the rich smoke and the peat? All those. No, you don't get that here. You get candy corn whiskey. Now, you say candy corn. What do you think grain whiskey's made out of? Corn. What do you think candy corn's made out of? Actually, corn syrup. It really is candy corn with food coloring. This has coloring more than likely to give it a darker appearance. So now you say, well, what's the ratio? I don't know what the ratio is. They never tell you on these websites. Probably 80-20. You know, at the best case, it's 75-25. At the best case, 75% grain alcohol, column stilled, mass production, odorless, colorless, grain alcohol, grain neutral spirits, whatever you want to call it. And at the best case, 25% blends of, and it could be many single malt whiskeys. How about this one? I let them breathe enough rambling on. Oh yeah, yesterday I was out of key. Try it again. You're only as pretty as you feel. You're only as pretty as you feel inside. I think that's right. When you wake up in the morning, rub the sleep from your eyes. Okay. You're only all right, you're only as pretty as you feel. You're only as pretty as you feel inside. All right. I got it. Yeah, candy corn. Yeah, alcohol burn. Yeah, whiskey. Some peat. Some peat. What about the smoke? Yeah, I don't think so. Okay. All right. Let's go with the taste, darling. Crazy Miranda lives on propaganda. All right. Oh man, this tastes like some semi-sweet corn, grain, alcohol. You say, but what about the peat? What about Frank? What about Frank? You let me worry about Frank. Anyway. Oh, actually, if you're an American blended whiskey drinker, if you like T.W. Samuels and Heaven Hill blended Kentucky whiskey and Beams 8-star or Barton Premium, you might like this because it's really not that different. And the price is the same, pretty much. So, but then you can say, I got something from Scotland, as opposed to getting something from Kentucky or Los Angeles or Baltimore County, Maryland. Well, this one over here on my right might be your left because I don't know how these things reverse, and it's reversal of reversing, and then it goes back. This one here has a little smoke. We want to emphasize the word little. Very little, but it's there, but it's not there by much. If you should die crossing the street, if you should die brushing your teeth, it's the #1 song in heaven, the #1 song all over heaven. It's the #1 song in heaven, the #1 song all over heaven. All right. Oh, man. Why did I judge blended whiskey so strongly when Scottish blended whiskey ain't really much better? I don't know why I did, because when you start breaking these things down, look, if you only do the surface taste, if you only do surface tasting, they say, I tried this, I tried that, I tried this, I tried that. And I made 200,000 videos. It's okay. But if you don't do depth tasting, really research it and think on it instead of just drink. You got to think on it while you drink on it. Then you won't pick up these really base flavors. It really does start to break apart in your mind and in your body and in your psyche. It never initially does. It never does initially. But then you start to do these repetitive, people say, this endless, repetitive, dawn busters thing. I can't take it. You can take it. You can take it. You'll make it. If you can, it'll start to come out. All these little components will start to come out. But you got to have the patience to keep going. Repetitive, 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 repetitive. You got to do depth tasting, not surface tasting. All these things will come out and develop. Remember the Stevie Nicks song from 1981? Remember the lyrics? Don't listen to her, listen through her. Okay? Don't listen to her, listen through her. Okay, so you have to have almost a metaphysical relationship to the whiskeys. You're thinking it almost more than you're drinking it. And you do that with the beer, and wine. And Budweiser is a good baseline to start with, because you can't drink it once and say, I drank it once and I didn't like it. And I hate the company because I'm against corporate. I don't like corporations. I hate mass-produced things. I don't ever buy anything mass-produced. Now, I'm getting in my Chevrolet and I'm leaving here. I'm not taking this from you. I'm going to get on my cell phone, my AT&T cell phone, call somebody, corporate slave. But if you can get past those sort of things, then you can really use it as a baseline, and you can go what's above it, what's below. But it's a good prototype. You want to look at prototypes with these drinks. You say, what is the beer prototype? Well, I don't really know what the beer prototype is, because I don't think there's a definitive one. Like there's some World Council of Beer reviewing, and they've determined that there's a prototype. Now maybe the Association of Beer Brewers, the Association of Brewers, maybe they've determined what a prototype is with an arbitrary determination. After all, they've arbitrarily determined what craft beer is with a very malleable and, as we notice, movable definition or category qualification. So if you arbitrarily determine what craft beer is, why couldn't you arbitrarily determine what a baseline is for beer? Say lager, it's Budweiser. For ale, it's Guinness or whatever, whatever. You could just arbitrarily pick. Why would it matter? Okay. If there's no objective reality to it, then you can just you create your own reality. Objective details are things like this whiskey is 80 proof. It's 40% alcohol. That's an objective. You don't argue that. The subjective is where all the arguments come into play. And I had people making contentions, and they'll say, well, Coors is a racist company. Howdy do, buckaroos? Coors is a racist company. What do you base that upon? Everybody knows that. Where did you get that information? Look it up. I said, that's the Archie Bunker argument point. Archie Bunker would make wild statements, and people would say, where did you get that information? It's common knowledge. Look it up. But I don't think it's common knowledge that Coors is a racist company. And what? Well, I read an article about them in the Socialist Workers' Party newspaper. And they said they're racist based on their opinion that they are, because somebody made an accusation. He was fired from them in 1980 due to incompetence, and he declares they're racist. Now, your counter argument would be, well, that's just simply a contention. There's no real evidence of that. Well, if you don't agree, you're a fascist. You're obviously a fascist. Obviously. Insane. Yes, sir. Quite obviously insane. Anyway, this is the King Robert. I'm going to say this right now. This is the King Robert II, and it's better than J.W. Dant. And that might offend a lot of people, upset a lot of people. I think most of the world would be highly indifferent to this contention, this preference, not to mention this entire video production. Highly indifferent. Okay. And I'm going to tell you why I think it's King Robert, because it's smokier. It has a slight, and it's about as slight as you can get without it being non-existent, peat note, and it just has a better quality flavor. But the price is identical, so which one would I choose? Well, common sense would tell us you would choose the one that tastes better, and that would be the King Robert II. No. Is that not correct? Now see, that's where the smoke comes through. It's on that exhalation, that last draw. Even tobacco. Yes, 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 yes. I didn't pour enough, and I need to do one more little exercise, but I do believe that there really is no doubt. Well, I'm going to call it. I better look. This is the King Robert II. There's no argument there. Is the J.W. Dant bad? No, it's not bad necessarily, but it's, yeah, King Robert II. Quite. Now, what did I say at the beginning? I didn't think I'd be able to tell them apart. And what did I say yesterday to myself when I was putting something in the cabinet? I said to myself, don't forget, don't forget, the King Robert II has that unusual smoky quality, unusual for blended scotch. You know, that unusually harsh smoky quality. And then what did I do? I forgot. Oh man, it's daytime now, and I'm going to go walking. I intend to walk 1.5 miles today. I weighed myself this morning. I weighed 145.2 pounds. I try to keep it exactly 145, but that's nearly impossible to go exact. You know what I mean? Yesterday morning was 144.6, which is a little bit too low. It's actually underweight. 145 is pushing it. Why am I mixing these up? I've already done the taste challenge. Okay. But I did lose 32.5 pounds, starting with my diet. When I got on that diet, December 2001, I invented a diet. I ought to have a marketing scheme for this, and I should have booklets, CDs, brochures, and seminars. But I made a diet. I invented a diet. It's brilliant. I mean, I'm not bragging, and I'm not a bragger, but if it's brilliant, I'm going to claim it. It's called Eat Less and Exercise More. That's the diet. Eat less and exercise more. So when I went on, I didn't change what I ate. No. I just changed the volume. Most people have a volume issue. They'll say, I'm just going to eat a salad, but their salad is bigger than a seafood platter from Middendorf's. I tell them, if you think eating that monstrous salad, they say, yeah, but I use low-fat dressing. If you think eating that monstrous iceberg lettuce salad is going to help you lose weight, you're living in a world, you're entertaining flights of fancy more delusional than almost any delusion that has ever been held on this planet. And then they walk around all day long drinking Diet Coke. They say, not me, I'm drinking Coke Zero. Zero sugar all day long. And I think this will never occur. I'm eating healthy snacks now. Good. But my diet was called Eat Less and Exercise More. And guess what? I lost 32.5 pounds. Now you might say, but you have an iron will. I don't have an iron will necessarily, although I did have willpower. You have to have willpower. DJ Beacon says, morning, just arrived. Good morning to you. But you do have to have willpower. You must have it if you're going to accomplish these goals, dieting, not drinking too much. The situation with smoking. See, I'm not a certified counselor, so I can't give counseling on smoking. I think I have good ideas about smoking. I think one problem with smoking is smoking cessation is people have this Alcoholics Anonymous worldview, which to me is not a good worldview. It's almost like a new age thinking, Mary Baker Eddy type mentality of all or nothing. It's an all or nothing proposition, which I find is very bad. And they apply that to cigarette smoking. It's all or nothing. And so these people go around for 50 years in abject misery, telling everyone how glad they are that they don't smoke anymore. And they'll say, I'm just so happy. I don't do it anymore. Aren't you proud of me? It's the past. Now it's past. And I tell them, I say, I can see that. I can see that it's not an issue for you anymore since you talk about it only 12 hours a day in an endless loop. I hear you on The Secret Equals Simple, quote unquote, as reducing calories and doing some exercise. I lost 45 pounds in 18 months. Now, you don't want to do it too drastically now. Mama Cass found that out. And that approach is the best way to maintain the weight loss, right? But the all or nothing proposition and the whole mentality of it's a sickness, smoking is a sickness, drinking is a sickness. No, I'm sorry, leukemia is a sickness, okay? You can just be minding your own business and one day you have the leukemia cancer. A head cold is a sickness, all right? In a way, it's a disease, but it's a minor one. You know, most people get over it unless they develop, unless they're very old and they develop pneumonia, their resistance is very low, their immunity is low, and they die. But drinking too much alcohol is not a sickness. It's not a disease. But people like to say that because then their onus is no longer on them. There's no culpability. And no one likes to have culpability, especially in the narcissistic world we have today. No one wants culpability. I'm not culpable for anything. It's just I was walking down the street minding my own business, and lo and behold, I was an alcoholic. But intelligence would, use of logic would indicate otherwise. I was walking down the street minding my own business, and all of a sudden I was hooked on cigarettes. That's amazing how that could occur. It isn't my fault. It's the evil companies. They made them addictive. They wanted me to keep smoking. I'm pretty sure they didn't want you to not keep smoking since that's their business, selling cigarettes. And the government has backed me up, and it's not my fault. And I'm a victim. I'm a victim, and I need money. You know, so that's that whole modern 20th century, which has bled over into the 21st century mentality. But you're only a victim of your own device. You're a victim of your own behavior, you see. So people could overcome a lot of these problems in their life if they would approach it from a more, let's call it a cognitive behavioral attitude, emotional, rational, emotive behavioral therapy attitude, I do believe. Not a victim attitude. All right, enough of the esoteric video reviewing. DJ Beacon says, Ronald, I've enjoyed your Jim Beam Choice Green Label reviews. I enjoy doing them. Thank you. Cheers this morning. Cheers to you. A goal of 2 or 3 pounds per month seems reasonable. I think that's very good. 2 or 3 pounds a month. Be on the safe side. You want to slowly land the plane. You say, well, I was flying a plane and I just nosedived it right into the ground. It landed. Yeah, it landed. All right. But not in the optimal way. So, and if you slow roll a diet, you probably have much more success for retention, right? And not where you're, what do you call it? What's that word called where you fall back into it? You know that word, it starts with an R. Recidivism, but I'm not saying I'm talking regression, whatever. I'm not talking about that. Relapse. Yeah, relapse. So anyway, these here, I'm not going to sit here on the internet like an idiot saying these are wonderful world-class Scotch whiskeys, but then no one thought that anyway. King Robert II is better. I mean, to me, it's better. You might think J.W. Dance is better, but I don't see that. It's J.W. Dance is too dull relative to King Robert. Now, in its own merits, it's fine. Here's another tricky thing with these beer reviews, whiskey or wine reviews. If you only review them in isolation, and I've noticed most beer reviewers do that, only isolation. There's no basis of comparison. Or they'll, in their recollection, they'll say, well, I remember in 2015, I drank this other Imperial Stout, and it was not nearly as good as this. I think the key, you hear what I'm saying? The key to a lot of this is the blind taste test. And it's got to be live, you see, because if it's not live, how do we know you didn't just record it and then you killed off the ones that didn't work out so well? You say nobody would do that. Oh, no. They wouldn't. All right. J.W. Dant is just like regular old standard stuff. And there's nothing wrong with regular old standard stuff, but don't sit there and think it's going to be exemplary, and it isn't. I'm not even saying the King Robert II is exemplary, but it does have some character. I was a little bit surprised because at $18.99 for 1.75 liter, you think it's going to have nothing. There'd be nothing there. But in fact, there is. And so as we close this out, let's remember, in isolation, when there's no comparison, let's just say, for the sake of argument, you're an individual and you say, I've never tried blended Scotch whiskey in my entire life. I'm 31 years old and I'm ready to make the plunge. And let's say you go to Dorgnax and Metairie and you say, wow, $8.99 for 1 liter. That seems very unusually low. Aged 3 years in oak barrels. You say, well, I buy it. And then let's say you try it on its own in isolation and you say, yeah, it smells pretty good, sweet candy corn, you taste it. And you say, oh man, people had me scared off for 10 years. I was 21. They had me scared off of Scotch. They were talking about all this rich peat, which sound gross to me, and all this heavy smokiness. I didn't think I'd want to drink a whiskey like that. But now I tried this one. It's so mellow and mild. I think I love Scotch. And you happen to like J.W. Dant, and you latch onto it. Like, what do most consumers do? They latch on to a particular brand and they stay with it for life. Would that be a detriment? Would you miss out? You would miss out on a lot. You would miss out on a whole lot. But would it be some terrible thing that if that was your go-to blended Scotch whiskey and you came home from work and sipped on some every night, or made some highballs? No. It would be fine. It would be sad in a way because you're not exploring. But many people don't like to explore. They go there and they're happy to be there. And that's fine. I'm not that kind of person. I always have to be trying something new, So, but that's that. Okay. Now tomorrow we're going to go up against tomorrow. Haha. There won't be anything going on tomorrow except working and working and working. Tuesday, let's say Tuesday, we're going to go up against Piper Dean. That'll be even more of a tragic, kingdom than this one. Piper Dean has no chance against King Robert II. More of a tragic kingdom than this one. King Robert has so much smoke, quality, and peat relative to Piper Dean that it would be a catastrophic event, a colossal failure on the Piper Dean's fault. On Piper Dean's fault. Yikes. I shouldn't have poured that second. On Piper Dean's behalf. Okay. You gotta have balls. I have a Nerf football in that box, I think, to do live blind tastings and comparisons or flight fights. Could look a bit you can look a bit foolish with some of your comments, but it is what it is. J-Dub, DJ Beacon, I probably look very foolish with many of my comments. My comments can be very unnecessary. But I have to, it's not a disease. I have to admit, I chose to make those comments. And I have to live with that. Anyway, so that's the end of that. It's done. It's over. And as Ringo Starr once said 50 years ago, good night. Good night. Although it's daytime. Might be nighttime in Australia and New Zealand. Now it's time to say good night. Good night. Good night. How do you think it feels when you've been up for 5 days straight? Listen, babe, how do you think it feels